I was actually meaning to put out a video to the effect of the public show of shame at the Olympics opening in Paris. And this is that video. Now, I am on History Channel's website. It says, the Olympic Games, which originated in ancient Greece as many as 3,000 years ago, were revived in the late 19th century and have become the world's preeminent sporting competition. From the 8th century BC to the 4th century AD, the Games were held every 4 years in Olympia, located in the western Peloponnese Peninsula in honor of the god Zeus. Satanic god Zeus. Let's go to Britannica. I'll show you something else, okay? Britannica is yet another mainstream source, okay? So you don't say, oh, he's using all these right-wing extremists, conservative sources. No, these are mainstream sources so that you know that the truth is always in your face. The problem is that we don't look hard enough to see them. Here's what Britannica says about Olympia. Olympia, ruined ancient sanctuary, home of the ancient Olympic Games, and former site of the massive statue of Zeus, which had been ranked as one of the 7 wonders of the world. Olympia, ruined ancient sanctuary, home of the ancient Olympic Games, and the former site of the massive statue of Zeus. History Channel told us clearly that the Olympic Games they held every 4 years then was in honor of Zeus. Britannica is telling us that this same place is the home of the ancient Olympic Games. That's where the name came from. Olympics, from Olympia. And it says that the same Olympia was the former site of a massive statue of the same Zeus god that History Channel told us the games were held in his honor. Corroborating everything that the History Channel has told us. Can you see that? Zeus is the god that owns the Olympic Games. He and all of his offspring. On that same page on Britannica, I'm going to read you something else that will bring you closer to the truth. The caption here is History and Excavations. And under here it says, the festival of Zeus, of which the Olympic Games were a part, was held there every 4 years from 776 BCE until the end of the 4th century CE, when the Roman Emperor Theodosius I abolished pagan festivals. Again, the festival of Zeus. He's telling you that the Olympic Games was a part of that festival of Zeus. And the festival of Zeus was a form of worship to Zeus. It means the festival of worship to Zeus. They said Olympic Games were part of it. And they held every 4 years as they are held today every 4 years. And the only time they were abolished was when Theodosius I came and abolished pagan, in quote, pagan festivals, to show you that the festival of Zeus was a pagan festival and the Olympic Games were all part of that pagan festival. In other words, Olympic Games is a form of pagan worship to a satanic and pagan god. In black and white. Pure and simple, no more arguments. But if you want to argue, you can argue with the facts. This is what the whole world is now led to take part in, because they had rebranded it. They had given it a name to make it look cute. They called it a sporting event. It's been a part of worship to a demon all along. It's a form of pagan worship. So what these people have always done, if you watch most of my videos, especially the one I did about Christmas, you will see that everything they have done from those days is to rebrand all the satanic worships and give them different names to deceive those who don't do research, those who don't search the truth properly. And we are all taking part in pagan worship in plain sight without knowing it. Let's go to Wikipedia, yet another mainstream source. On Wikipedia here, here's what it says about Zeus. It says, Zeus, ancient Greek, is the sky and thunder god in ancient Greek religion and mythology, who rules as king of the gods on Mount Olympus. His name is cognate with the first syllable of his Roman equivalent, Jupiter. Now, let me take you down to where the stuff that happened at the opening came from. On the same page on Wikipedia, we read, Zeus was also infamous for his erotic escapades. These so-called erotic escapades resulted in many divine and heroic offspring, including Apollo, Artemis, Hermes, Persephone, Dionysus, underline Dionysus, keep your eyes on Dionysus, Perseus, Heracles, Helen of Troy, Minos, and Musis. Who is Dionysus? Dionysus, as you can see from here, is one of the children, illegitimate children, that this demonic god had born through his sexual erotic escapades. And remember, this is a very gigantic devil, demon, giving birth to little demons. So these ones are called gods, okay? This big god, they call him the god of all the other gods. He gave birth to all these other smaller gods. And the one that they were actually channeling and depicting at the opening of the Olympics is Dionysus. Do you doubt it? Let me prove it to you right now. Follow me to CNN. There's a CNN publication here. The caption says, controversial blue man at Olympic ceremony says he's sorry. It says, CNN's Saskia Van Doorn speaks to French entertainer Philippe Catherine, who appeared as semi-naked Greek god Dionysus during the opening ceremony of the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. This is CNN. These are issues of strong spiritual implications, and we, the so-called spiritual people, are so unaware of what is going on. And look at them on mainstream media reporting, mentioning Dionysus. Many of you don't even know where Dionysus is coming from. Dionysus was begotten by Zeus. It is his father that owns the Olympic Games. That's why they had to channel him. Remember, Christians were angry that they brought about the whole Da Vinci painting of the Last Supper and all of that, and used transgender people and all those weird people to represent it. But remember, the one that stood out to everyone was the man that was bearded, but then he was also a woman. So dancing like a lady. So he had everything, all the features of a woman. That was Dionysus. But why is it that the blue man who was depicting and channeling Dionysus was having both male and female features? Let's get back to our research materials. Now, who is Dionysus? He said Dionysus was the ancient Greek god of wine, winemaking, grape cultivation, fertility, ritual madness, theater, and religious ecstasy. Can you imagine? The god of ritual madness, which was what happened at the Olympic opening. Ritual, it was a ritual they were performing in honor of the god that owns Olympic Games, that has always owned Olympic Games. The pagan god that owned Olympic Games. It was ritual madness. They say this is the god of fertility, ritual madness, theater, and religious ecstasy. Everything that he represents was what you saw on that day. Now, let's get down to the real description of Dionysus. On this page here, it says, earlier images and descriptions of Dionysus depict him as a mature male, bearded and robed, holding a fennel staff tipped with a pine cone. However, in later images, the god is shown to be a beardless, sensuous, naked or semi-naked androgynous youth. Androgynous. He is described in literature as womanly or man-womanish. What you saw, that blue man, what was he? He was man-womanish. A man and a woman, androgynous at the same time. That is literally the god Dionysus, who was gotten through the sexual or erotic escapades of the god Zeus, the one they say is the god of all the gods, the owner of the Olympic Games, the one they still worship and dedicate Olympic Games to today. His son was channeled and you were getting angry. That's the God that is in charge of the transgender movement. And why did they decide to go public with him today at the Olympic Games? It is because they have been able to deceive the whole world for decades into believing that the Olympic Games was not a pagan worship to a pagan god, that it was just a sporting event. Remember what I always tell you people in my videos, they always want to make evil look good. They want to make it look cute so that it's acceptable to you. That's what they have done with the Olympic Games. Olympic Games have never, ever, ever been a sporting event. Olympic Games have always been a form of worship, a festival of Zeus to the pagan god Zeus. They brought it today, they came mainstream today because they have been able to entrench this lifestyle from the pit of hell in our society. Transgenderism now is in churches, is everywhere, it's all over the place. It's in schools. They even have transgender story times. They have drag story times for children. For children. People are taking puberty blockers today, kids. And they are turning them from what God made them to be, to become something totally different. Transgender demon has taken over the whole of the West, all over Europe, all over the western part of the world. And so they say, wow, we've already conquered. Why are we still keeping this thing in the shadows? Let's come out in the open. So that was their coming out on a global stage. And you're angry. The people are worshiping their God. You go inside the churches and inside your little buildings to worship your own God, and they deceived you into joining them for decades to worship their own God. And now they came and they put it in your face that, hey, this is what you've been worshiping all along. And now you're angry. Why are you angry? They deceived you. It's not their fault that they're smarter than you. Why are you angry? That's my question today. That's why I make it. Why are you angry? Have you seen your Pope say anything about them? Have you seen Pope? The Pope hosted transgender women in the Vatican. They say Vatican just released a statement to say, oh, we are not happy with this and that, the Last Supper, blah, 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 blah. Why hasn't the Pope come out to say something? Because he himself hosted transgender women at the Vatican. I made a video about it. Did you not see it? Back in the days, the Vatican even sponsored a movie in which there was gay sex. I think it was a movie about the life of Elton John or something like that. Elton John, yeah, I think so. If you look, you'll see it. I also talked about it so many years ago. Dionysus, man, womanly, that's who they were channeling in front of the whole world. They have deceived you. They got you to celebrate Christmas. It's a total, complete pagan worship. Go and watch my video. I made it and I remade it again. You will see, they laugh at you, they laugh at us. God said, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. So every time they deceive you, they will do stuff like this, put it in your face to shame you, to tell you, look how stupid you are. Look at all these religions from all over the world, different countries. They've been sending people from their countries to go and take part in a pagan worship. But if you tell them to walk into a pagan temple to worship, they will nearly chop off your head. But look how subtle they have brought them to come and worship a pagan god. And they've done it for so many decades. Look, go, you can do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Check, you will see. Olympic Games has never been a sporting event. It has always been a pagan worship to a pagan god.